Welcome to Rx30 Unlocked. My name is Dalia, and I bring over 16 years of pharmacy industry experience. I am excited to take you on a deep dive into Rx30 to explore how to unlock its full potential. And on today's episode, we're going to take a closer look at Workflow and Workview. But if you have any questions, please feel free to drop them in the chat, and I'll answer them after the demo. So let's get started. Let's now go to Workflow configuration, F1, number 10, number 16. So Workflow has 3 prescription processing stages and 3 logistic stages. The first stage is PV1, pharmacist verification. This is where the pharmacist does the data entry check. We're going to go over the options. So employee verify level 0, 1, and 2. 0 does not have an employee verify, so it will not prompt you for a user ID or password. A level 1, depending on a timeout, you can set a timeout for anywhere from 1 to 9 minutes. If you're not idle within that time, then it's going to prompt you for a user ID and password. A level 2, it will prompt you for a user ID and password every single time you process a prescription within that stage. The employee secure scan can be used, which is a badge. You can print the badge by pressing F5 badges. You print the badge and you can use that instead of having to enter your user ID and password every time. Process all patient Rx's. This just gives you a number of prescriptions that are in that queue for that specific patient. For example, the patient has 5 scripts in that queue, but you have a basket of only 3. It gives you a chance to look for the other 2. PV1 refills means that the refills will also go to PV1. That is an option. You can turn it on or turn it off. PV1 holds allows the hold prescriptions to go into the PV1. Now, the perform adjudication, we have 3 options. You can have the adjudication be performed during the fill process before it goes into PV1 or after, so the pharmacist will check the prescription, and then it will go back to the Rx adjudication for adjudication. And then during means that the actual pharmacist would have to perform the adjudication. Now, in the packaging stage is where the technician scans the stock bottle to verify the product, right? So this can be manual or mechanical. If you have a robotic dispensing system, then we can set it to bypass the packaging system altogether. The perform drug verify, you can have the system perform the drug verification, which is the stock bottle barcode. You can have it perform 9 digits, verify the 9 digits or the 11 digits. Auto save after drug verify. Once the technician scans the stock bottle, it will automatically save and avoiding an extra keystroke. Employee verify level 0, 1, and 2 is also available under packaging. You can also use the employee secure scan and process all patients' prescriptions. The print label and print document is just deferred printing. You can defer the label printing to after this particular stage. And then the print document is to print the patient education, the monograph, again, after this particular stage. Now, in the RPH review, sometimes called PV2, you can also perform drug verification, either 9-digit or 11 digits. You also have the employee verify level 0, 1, and 2. You can use the employee secure scan and then process all patients' prescriptions, okay? So reject packaging. So if a pharmacist rejects a prescription in the RPH review, it can go back to the packaging. You would have to code it. You would have to set that option. We also have the print label, deferred print labels, and deferred documents. So now, Workflow is highly customizable. You can turn on one or all. You can set it or make it as simple or complex as you need. So as simple would be data entry and RPH review. The typical would be data entry, packaging, and RPH review. And then a more complex solution would be the intake, data entry, PV1, packaging, and RPH review. Again, it's highly customizable. You can customize it to your pharmacy's needs. So on the logistics side, in-store will call it works with our point of sale and our Rx30 signature app. The manual check-in is if you have a hanging bag system, you want to enable that. And then the manual checkout is if you're using the Rx30 signature, if you do not have this checked, all of the patient's medications will be listed on the iPad, and you would have to check the ones that the patient do not want to pick up. But when you have the manual checkout turned on, all of them will be declined, and you would have to indicate which medication the patient wants to pick up. Again, you see the employee verify level 0 to 2 and the employee sure scan. Under shipping, that works with our, we actually have an integration with UPS, FedEx, and Indesia. Also, we have an integration with Malvern. Okay. The courier delivery works with our Rx30 delivery, and I am happy to report that we have a partnership with RxMile to give you another delivery application solution. So I'm going to go to the next page, that's workflow configuration, and here's where you would set the verify level. So if you set a timeout of number 9, then the employee verify level of a 1, once it times out, it will prompt you for a user ID and password. And here are just basic configurations. It's pretty self-explanatory. You can see if you want to see the patient memo in the PV1, the packaging, and or the RPH review. Show message IVR app and requester. So if a refill comes in through an IVR or through the app, patients can enter a message on the IVR or the app, and you can choose to view that message. Okay. So under here is Workview default promise time. I'm going to talk about Workview in just a bit. Let me just go over each of the stages. So in RPH verification, that's the PV1, you would just scan the barcode that prints on the label. Okay. On the left-hand side, you would see the hard copy image, and then you would see the pill image to the right. Here's the 6-point check. Now, right now, I have them all checked, but you can configure your system to have these blank, and the pharmacist would have to check them one by one. If you notice, DUR alerts and profile not view are in red. If I want to view a profile, I would press F10, profile. I can search here to see if this patient has had this medication before. Okay. And if I don't look at the alerts, if I press F4 accept, it will let me know that I have not viewed the alert. So once I press enter, it will come up with all of the alerts. And the allergy reactions and the severe drug-to-drug interactions will come up in red. Any minor and moderate will show up in blue. Okay. I'm going to go ahead and F4 accept and go to the next stage, which is the packaging stage. In the packaging stage, again, I don't have to search for the patient. I could just scan the barcode that prints on the label. At this point, the technician would scan the stock bottle. And if you have the auto save configured, it would automatically save it and clear the screen. Okay. The next step is RPH review, or also called PV2. Again, you would scan the stock bot or the barcode on the label. Okay. The hard copy image is on the left. You've got your 6-point check. Okay. If you notice the drug Simvastatin 10 milligrams and it says change is in red, that indicates that this particular fill has a different NDC than the previous fill. Once again, I can do an F10 profile to view the profile. I can search to see if the patient has had this medication before for counseling purposes. If I want to see only the prescriptions for that patient that are in will call, I can go to F8 and patient Rx status. This will bring up all of the patient's prescriptions that are in will call, not the ones that's been picked up. Once again, I press F4 accept, and it will alert me that I have not seen the DUR alerts. Okay. I'm going to press F4 accept. Okay, and let me just talk about Workview. So Workview takes workflow to another level. We have Workview dashboard under the Fills menu, and then F8 number 15. So the difference between those is you can work off of the F8 number 15 Rx Workview instead of number 7. It gives you a fill request. You can search the patient by last name, by date of birth, and you can search all queues as well. You can set the promise time. So I am going to pull this patient, tag this patient, and set a waiter, F6, W for a waiter. I assigned 10 minutes for my waiters, but you can assign, you can configure to how many minutes you'd like. And notice how the waiters will go to the top and it will show a W. Okay? From the fills number 17, this is more of a clerical function. The patient comes in, they want to wait. The clerk can set it as a waiter, but they cannot accidentally fill the script from this screen. I'm going to go back to the configuration page, page 2, and this is where you would set how many minutes for each waiter. For like a waiter, a retail would be the patient is dropping off the medication. The e-script, IVR, all of these are in minutes except for the mail. Mail is in hours. So once you set that, you would then have to call support to have them rebuild the workflow database, and then your workflow will be, your Workview will be up and running. So now that concludes the demo on Workflow and Workview. I'd love to hear from you, so let's check on the producer to see if there's any questions.
Well, there is quite a few questions, Dalia, coming in here. So let's see. The first one we've got is Desi from Jacksonville, Florida. She asks, can you enable PV1 just for prescriptions on hold?
Hi, Desi. Yes, that's a great question. I'm going to go back into workflow configuration, and under PV1, if this is checked, that means it'll do it for all new. So what you want to do is uncheck this and only check the PV1 holds, meaning that only the holds prescription will go into PV1. It's a great question.
Now, second question is coming in from Nick from Crestline Pharmacy in Columbus, Ohio. Nick asks, when a prescription is rejected in RPH review, can it be sent back to packaging?
Hi, Nick. Yes, that's another great question. Under RPH review, we recently added this new feature. Reject goes back to packaging. If you have an N there, that means that all of the rejects will stay in PV2 or RPH review. If you put a P, it will prompt you to see if you want to send it back to packaging. And then if you put an A there, it will always go back to all of the rejected in RPH review will go back to packaging for the technicians to work on.
Next question, Dalia, is coming in from Kimberly from Heartstone Pharmacy in Tampa, Florida. She asks, how do I enable Workview?
Hi, Kimberly. Yes, in configuration on the second page, you want to make sure you put your minutes under Workview default promise times. These are basically the times that the system is going to assign for a waiter, retail, e-script. So just enter them in minutes. Right now I have my waiters as a 10 minutes. You can set it as a 5, 15, 20, but you can always override it if you'd like. If you put ASAP, I'll show you real quick. I'm going to go to Workview dashboard. I can take this particular patient, F6, and type in ASAP, and that will give it the current time instead of my 10 minutes. So great question.
Next question, let's see, who's come, Angie from Minnesota. Angie asks, what does print document do under packaging and RPH review?
Hi, Angie. So in workflow configuration, under packaging, print document, and also under RPH review print documents is if for the patient education and the med guides, this is deferred printing. So when you're filling and adjudicating a claim, you probably want a label to print out, but you don't want your documents to print out. So the print document, what that does is once that step is completed, then you will have your printout, your patient education and your monographs, and your med guides.
So it looks like there's a few questions on the same topic here. So let's just take Dan. Dan from Lakeside Wellness in Kansas City. Dan asks, if I need to change the NDC, can I do it from Workflow?
Absolutely, yes. Let's take a look at that. So let's say you are in packaging and you realize that medication you don't have sufficient quantity. You can go to F7 and number 4 RX. From here, you can reverse the claim, you can change the NDC, you can rebill it. You don't need to get out of Workflow to jump back into the fill screen or to the edit screen. You can do all that from Workflow.
All right, Dalia, let's see. We have Matt from Evercure Drugstore in Oklahoma City. What if I don't have sufficient inventory? Is there a way to indicate that we owe the patient?
Yes, absolutely. So again, in packaging, if I go into packaging, you're going to see that drug verification. That's where the technician scans the stock bottle. But before you do that, you want to press escape, and now you'll see the F10 owed, and that's where you would indicate if you owe the patient 10 tablets. If you want a separate label, the label will say owed 10. F4 accept, and now what's going to happen is that entry in Workflow is going to split. The 10 is going to go into the owed quantity queue, and then the 20 is going to go forward to the RPH review queue. And so the next day when you receive your order, you'll go into number 4, owed quantity packaging review, and that is where you package the owed quantity. Great question.
Let's see. Tina doesn't list a pharmacy, but Tina's from Plano, Texas. She asked, how do you indicate a patient is waiting for a prescription?
Hi, Kim. So in Workview, you can highlight the prescription or tag the patient. You can tag multiple patients, and then F6 promise time and W for a waiter. Okay, and I just want to expand on that a little bit. If the patient says, I changed my mind, I don't want to wait for it, I'll come back on Friday at 3 p.m., you can type in FR and 3P for 3 p.m., and it'll give it Friday at 3 p.m. So it just adjusts the timing. Great question.
All right, a few more are coming in. We have Nancy from Summit Health Mart in Beaufort, North Carolina. Nancy asks, is there a shortcut I can use to send a patient a text message?
Yeah, great question. That's the hotkeys, right? So let's go ahead and pull up that prescription or any prescription. While you're filling a prescription, you can do Alt-T to send the patient a text message. Now, this message here is showing up in Spanish because I have that patient in Spanish. But if I change the language of the patient to English, then the text message will show up in English. So there's 2 templates. One, prescription is ready to be picked up. The other one is contact the pharmacy. And then the third one is a custom text. So you can say the prescription is on order, is not going to be available till Friday, or the delivery person will be there today after 5 o'clock. So that's a great question. Mm-hmm.
Next question coming from Renee from Serenity Scripts in Donaldsville, Louisiana. Renee asked, how do you unvoid a prescription?
Okay, great question. So if you know the prescription number, you would pull it up under the edit screen, and then there's an F8 unvoid. If you don't know the prescription number, what you could do is you pull up the patient's profile and type the letter V for unvoid or for void. V will show you the voided script. You highlight that voided script, you type in E for edit, and then you're going to see the F8 unvoid. So you can only unvoid an original script. If it's a refill that you voided, you just go ahead and refill it like you normally do.
And Dalia, it looks like we're down to the last one in the queue here. This one's coming in from Steve from Peak Rx Solutions in Wimberley, Texas. Steve asked, if someone deletes an e-prescription, is there a way to send it back to the queue?
An e-prescription? Yes, absolutely. So the way you do that is you want to navigate over to Reports, number 15, e-script print. If you remember anything about the script, the patient's first name, the last name, the drug, the doctor, you would enter in these boxes and then F4 begin. Now you want to make sure that the script that you want to unvoid or send it back to the queue is on the screen, and then you'll see an F7 requeue. Yeah, those are really, really great questions, and I thank you for joining me on Rx30 Unlocked. I hope this deep dive has provided valuable insights, and if you have any questions or any topics that you would like covered on our next episode, please feel free to email us at rx30unlocked@outcomes.com. Thank you so much for joining us.